Meeting to order. This is the June 22nd, 2021 regular meeting of the Wellington Board of Trustees. Could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I get a roll call, please?
Here.
Trustee Gator,
Here.
Trustee Jerome, Trustee Kenny,
Present.
Trustee McDonald,
Here.
Trustee Whitehouse, Newton,
Here.
Mayor Hammond.
Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, I'd like to amend that we remove the executive session from our agenda because I believe we're still waiting on some additional information needed for that discussion.
Take a motion.
I also have a suggestion. If possible, can we move the liquor board to the beginning of the meeting? Just to avoid in case it's a lengthy meeting to get that done with for folks that might be here for that.
Can we take care of one of these at a time instead of?
Sure. First Amendment. Do we need a motion on that?
Second.
Can I get
So
a second?
I'll remove it. So I move that we remove the item G, executive session, from our agenda as we're missing needed information to complete that.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Gator,
Yes.
Kenny,
Yes.
Trustee McDonald,
No.
Trustee Whitehouse,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Knutson.
Yes. Okay, we'll remove that item from the agenda. Do we have any, we could do the liquor board first, can we? Anybody have them?
Is there any reason that we wouldn't be able to? I don't object.
Okay.
Do we need a formal motion to change the the orientation or?
Yeah, okay. I move that we move the liquor board to before the community participation piece of the meeting today.
Second.
Roll call?
Trustee Gator,
Yes.
Trustee Kenny,
Yes.
Trustee McDonald,
Yes.
Trustee Whitehouse,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Knutson.
Yes. Okay. We'll close our regular meeting and we'll open the liquor license authority board. Can I get a roll call, please?
Trustee Gator,
Here.
Trustee Kenny,
Present.
Trustee McDonald,
Here.
Trustee Whitehouse,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Knutson.
Here. Okay. Item 1, American Legion Wellington Post 176, special event permit application.
Yes, so the American Legion has submitted an application for a special event permit to serve liquor on July 4th during the Wellington Car Show. They've submitted all the documentation needed for the application, as well as permission for use of the space at the park. The alcohol sales will take place on the 4th of July from 12 to 5. They do have some time before and after that event for setup and tear down. The alcohol will be donated to the event and they will be serving beer and hard seltzers. All the servers of the alcohol will be tip certified and they will be members of the American Legion as well as the Veterans of Foreign War. They will have light snacks such as chips and pretzels available within the licensed premise. And they do have security from the Larimer County Sheriff's Office that will be on site for that event. The wristbands will be placed on individuals over 21 years and older, and they will be limited to 5 drink tickets per person. The notice of the meeting tonight was posted and there have been no protests for the application. And Mr. Cook is here to answer any questions as well.
Yeah, just say if you have anything to say, go ahead.
I'm Roy Cook. I'm the adjutant for American Legion Post 176 here in Wellington. If you guys will let me, I'd like to just lead off with some of the health and safety measures that we've come up with to make sure everyone has a fun and safe time, which is obviously the most important thing. As mentioned, we have 2 Larimer County Sheriff's officers that will be solely dedicated to the beer garden, nowhere else in the event. We have also obtained 2 private security members from Code 4 Security Services that are going to help us and help the Larimer County Sheriff's officers. We will have a first aid booth at the entrance. We most likely have a local medical group that will sponsor that and run it, but I haven't been able to confirm with them, so I don't want to say their name yet. We will have free water bottles. We'll have a 20-foot by 60-foot tent with fans to help keep people out of the sun and cool. All servers will be tip certified, and we have purchased Uber vouchers up to a $20 value in case anyone can't drive home.
Board have any questions? Any public comment? No. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the American Legion Post Special Event Permit application.
Second.
Roll call?
Trustee Gator,
Yes.
Trustee Kenny,
Yes.
Trustee McDonald,
Yes.
Trustee Whitehouse,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Knutson.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your service.
We'll move to the next item, the Loaf and Jug renewal application.
So Myer Incorporated, doing business as Loaf and Jug, they submitted their annual renewal for their fermented malt beverage liquor license. A review of the application found the establishment is in good standing with Colorado Secretary of State's office. They are current with their sales tax, and the Larimer County Sheriff's Office reported no issues directly related to the establishment's liquor license. And during a compliance check, there was no issues found on the premise.
Any representative from?
They are not here.
Okay. Any board questions? No? Any public comment? No? Can I get a motion to approve the Loaf and Jug renewal application?
I'll make a motion that we approve the Loaf and Jug renewal application.
Second.
Roll call?
Trustee Gator,
Yes.
Trustee Kenny,
Yes. Trustee
McDonald,
Yes.
Trustee Whitehouse,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Knutson.
Yes. Okay. We'll close the liquor license review board and resume our regular meeting. We'll go to community participation. Individuals wishing to speak on non-agenda items need to raise their hand. Once called upon, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and individuals will be limited to 3 minutes. Is there any public comment? Nope. Okay. We'll move on to presentations. Comprehensive plan, second draft presentation. Cody Bird.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and board members. I've got a pretty quick update for you tonight. We're not really presenting a lot of information on the comprehensive plan update. What we really wanted to do was get this in front of the community again and share that we have done a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes to reflect the comments that we've received from members of the public to revise the prior draft. We have taken as many of those comments into consideration as we can and incorporated those into the second draft document that's in the Planning Commission Board of Trustees packet this evening. It is a second draft. It by all means can still be changed. We can still accept guidance from our Planning Commission, the public, our steering committee, our board, but we have to kind of keep moving things forward. So the second draft is where we're at tonight. We did track all of the changes that occurred to that document in blue text. So you can clearly see, and the public can see, what revisions have been made. They're quite extensive. I hope that everyone has a chance to take a look at that and see what those changes were to reflect the comments we received from the public. To date, we've received over 2,000 individual comments from over 200 individuals commenting on the draft plan and responding to quick polls, questionnaires, other forms of engagement. So we're really pleased with the community engagement on this effort. So thank you, everyone who has participated to date. There's still more opportunity to weigh in. We'd like to hear from you any way you want to reach out to us. This revised draft of the plan is available on the town's website. There's a project page specifically for the comprehensive plan. I think there's links on the homepage to help get you there. There's also hard copies available at Town Hall, and we'll get some over to the library first thing tomorrow morning. So if anyone wants to review the paper copies, they can have those as well. They're for review, not for taking home, but we'd like to hear that feedback from anyone who's willing to give it. I also wanted to highlight that the Planning Commission is the official authority to adopt the comprehensive plan and any revisions to it. The Planning Commission is scheduled to have a public hearing on the comprehensive plan amendments at the July 12th Planning Commission meeting. So that will be the official public hearing for plan consideration, and any members of the public that would like to comment on the comprehensive plan should plan on attending the Planning Commission meeting that will be held July 12th here at the Leaper Center in person. That's all I wanted to share with you tonight. I'm also happy to respond to any questions or take any feedback from the board and pass that along to the Planning Commission. So thank you.
Thanks, Cody. Any questions regarding the comprehensive plan, second draft?
A quick comment. I know that there's been extensive time and resources spent on the plan in general and the second draft. So I do want to commend our staff for such hard work that they're doing to put that together. It's been significant. So thank you very much for the team that's been led by Cody for this effort.
Okay. Any other comments? Well, thanks for all your effort into it. I'm glad to hear there's been significant public comment, at least so we can get those addressed in the final draft.
Yes, and I guess I should also mention that anyone who does want to provide general feedback on the plan, the first draft, we had an option to post comments directly on the plan online, and that's not available for this draft, but there is a Google form on the town's website. If anyone wanted to provide any general comments, that'll come to staff so we can share that with our Planning Commission. So there's still ways to engage. They're just a little bit different. And by all means, if there are any questions or if anyone has trouble providing feedback, they can always reach directly to me and I'll happily get them in the right place.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cody. All right, we'll move to the next. We'll move to the next item, consent agenda. This includes the minutes from the May 18th special meeting and also the June 8th regular meeting. Has anybody got any questions, changes? Good. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Trustee Gator,
Yes.
Trustee Kenny,
Yes.
Trustee McDonald,
Yes.
Trustee Whitehouse,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Knutson.
Yes. All right, next we'll move to the action items. First one is the wastewater treatment plan expansion, Cmar contract agreement for phase 1 pre-construction services. Mr. Myer? We get you in person tonight?
It's nice to see you all in person finally. Dave Myer, staff engineer. Before you is at last, is the phase 1 part of the contract, the Cmar contract with Moats Construction. Quick overview on what's in the board package. So the Cmar project delivery method was chosen in December, agreed upon by staff members and I believe the board. We selected Moats as our chosen contractor in February after we went through a pretty rigorous selection committee or process. Since then, Moats has been participating in weekly meetings with the staff and the design engineers and been providing a lot of valuable information from constructability standpoints, cost standpoints, helping us to keep the costs in check as much as we can. So we appreciate that. We decided to base the contract before you on industry standard EJCDC templates. Those are, as I said, industry standards that are used throughout construction projects between owners and contractors. The big thing is we wanted to stay consistent with Jacobs and the specifications that they'll be writing as part of this project. They'll also be using the EJCDC format. So negotiations started with Maltz and the town attorney about February or March. So over the last 2 or 3 months, we had several meetings with all the parties, and before you was a final draft of that agreed upon contract. That consists of 3 separate documents. One of them is general conditions. That's EJCDC format. Okay, that goes into the full contract. The second one is the agreement. Okay, that gets to the basic terms of what the contract is right now for pre-construction services, with some overlap going towards construction phase 2 later on this year when we talk about the GMP. And the last part, we're calling it attachment A to the general conditions. There's 3 items in there, I believe, that a couple of them were just housekeeping type tasks that we wanted to modify. Staff was okay with all of those. And we agreed to those. So I want to mention too that this contract is just for phase 1 for the pre-construction services, $127,204. We'll be revisiting the contract in phase 2 when we get with the GMP later this year. So a lot of this stuff will come up again. There are a couple overlaps right now that you'll see in the agreement and follow through the GMP phase 2 contract. So right now we're just looking for authorization from the board to execute this phase 1 part of the contract with Maltz for the pre-construction services. I'm joined by Bob somewhere, there he is, and Maltz, John Tucker, and Samantha Loney are online, I believe, and also Kyle Snyder is online. So hopefully between all of us, we'll be able to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Any questions from the board?
I just have a quick follow-up question from the work session.
Yes.
So I wasn't able to attend, but I did watch it. And one of the items that was removed was the sludge field. Was that just an over-engineered addition, or is that something that we're going to have to come back later and?
The drying
Do it a later
pads,
date.
yeah, no, that was something that was decided upon from an operational standpoint. The drying beds right now, they've been there since 2000. They only work well during the summer months. During the winter months, they sit there and the drying doesn't occur. It's pretty labor intensive for staff to deal with that. We went to another type of a process that will ultimately save the town money. Screw compactors is what we're using instead of the belt filter press and hauling all the dewatered sludge.
So I'm sorry, did you just say like a compactor is the
Yes.
type that you're using instead? Okay.
Yes, yeah, it's a screw compactor. Right now they have what's called a belt filter press on site, which helps with the dewatering process. A wastewater plant, produces the effluent and also produces solids. So the belt filter press will dewater all of those solids before staff takes it and puts it on the drying bed to dry for several months before it's hauled away. What we're looking in the design right now is getting rid of that drying bed. It's too small for the updated capacity that we'll be looking at. So instead, we're looking at mechanical dewatering, continuous process of dewatering that will be put into a dumpster and hauled away from the site instead of going through the whole drying process. It'll save the staff, the operators a lot of time.
Okay, thank you for that.
And it's
explanation.
cheaper too. It's cheaper.
Thank you.
So it's a different process. So it's not that we're just eliminating the beds. It's a different process where we don't actually need the beds.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments, questions?
I just had a question, and this has been brought up a couple of times, that during the construction process, there's going to be full transparency on what money went to what. I noticed that maybe I missed it trying to go through the contract. There's not really a breakdown of what the $127,000 is for, other than just pre-construction services.
Yep.
Are we going to be getting a breakdown for that? Do we have to request that from them to exactly what those funds go to? What does that look like? Because this is the first time we've actually
Sure.
looked at putting money out for this.
They'll be billing us on an hourly basis for all of the efforts that they'll be putting in, 30% cost production, 60% cost production, 90% cost production, and also all of their input during the design meetings. I believe the contract will be a lump sum for the $127,000, but when Maltz invoices us, they'll be putting in exactly what they were doing as part of fulfillment of that contract.
Okay, so we won't have that information up front, but we'll have that as
Yes.
we go through.
Yes, yes.
Questions?
I do not.
All right, any public comment regarding this item? No. I'll bring it back to the board then. Can I get a motion to approve the wastewater treatment plant expansion Cmar contract agreement for phase 1 pre-construction services?
I move that we authorize execution of the contract with Maltz Construction in the not to exceed amount of $127,204 on a time and material basis for phase 1 pre-construction services and the wastewater treatment plant expansion.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Trustee Gator,
Yes.
trustee Kenny,
Yes.
trustee McDonald,
Yes.
trustee Whitehouse,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Knutson.
Yes. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 2, resolution 17-2021, a resolution granting extension of approval for conditional annexation for Country Lane Acres. Cody Bird.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Cody Bird, Planning Director. This one's should be a pretty short presentation. There's a draft resolution in your board packet. The question at hand here is whether or not the board would like to extend the conditions of approval for annexation of Country Lane Acres. That's on the south end of town, east of I-25, south of County Road 60. The challenge is that there've been a couple of development changes that the owner has had to take a look at, including the new FEMA risk map to the changes to the floodplain impacts some of the developable land area that the owner had just a couple years ago gone through a letter of map revision to change the floodplain there based on newer data, and that data is changing for them. So they're trying to evaluate what impacts that has to their proposed development of that property, and then they requested some additional time to evaluate that before they enter into an agreement for annexation of that land. So they're simply asking for an extension, and staff felt that it was appropriate to honor that request. So we drafted the proposed resolution, and if the board agrees with that, the resolution would extend the conditions of approval for the annexation to December 15th of this year. I'll happily stand for any questions.
Okay. Any questions?
So is the only thing that's causing this, the changes that just happened in the floodplain, or were there other issues that were causing a delay in this as well?
The owner is also looking at some other factors as well. The town staff has indicated that we would like to consider as part of those conditions of annexation some timing for availability of adequate public services, including water and wastewater. And the owner is agreeable to those terms and conditions, but we have not penned that official language in an agreement.
So just to make sure that I understand that clearly, so that would be getting towards, we're in a challenging place with construction, so we're trying to limit that, and they're willing to kind of work with us on not trying to build that out right away, more or less something along those lines.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I'm sorry, but I kind of paraphrased the whole scenario to a very small nutshell, but to Trustee Gator's comment, yes, the town is looking very closely at the way in which we approve annexations and new subdivisions to be cognizant of our current treatment capacity challenges at our water and wastewater treatment plants. And we've indicated that to this particular owner for their request for annexation of the town. And they have been agreeable to working with the town to establish some terms that would not allow growth to occur in that particular property until such time that there's adequate availability for water and wastewater.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And the I know FEMA just came out with some new, I guess, floodway or some mapping, and obviously that's not a quick process to, I don't know, they're gonna try to resolve that. I mean, obviously they have to look at what the impacts are, and sometimes I think there can be discussions with FEMA. I can't imagine that goes very quickly.
And no, Trustee Whitehouse, it usually is not a very quick process. One of the challenges, particularly at this stage, is that the proposed floodplain changes are in draft form. And so owners often can't make official requests to change the floodplain until it's actually adopted and official. At this point, I think what the owner is really trying to confirm for this property is whether or not they want to proceed with the annexation that would bring the land into the town limits. At that point, once they make that decision, and if the town agrees to it, they would probably enter into discussions with their designers to look at what the subdivision plat would look like, how public infrastructure would be extended to serve the properties, et cetera. So really the first step for the town's process is annexation. And that owner needs to decide if they're still comfortable moving forward, if they're able to develop their land. And our town's role is working with them to determine if it makes sense for the town to provide services.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Any public comment? Can I get a motion to approve resolution 17-2021?
So moved.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Trustee Gator,
Yes.
Trustee Kenny,
Yes.
Trustee McDonald,
Yes.
Trustee Whitehouse,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Knutson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cody. We'll move on to reports. Town attorney,
Nothing to update you on at this time.
town administrator.
So based on our procurement policy, we have some projects that were started in 2020 and ended up having to roll over in 2021 based on issues, supply issues, things like that. So we do have some invoices that will need to be paid that should have been paid in 2020, but because the project got rolled over in 2021. Several of them are under that $10,000 mark that's identified in the procurement policy. There is one that is $12,000. The two projects that I'm speaking to are the one for the generator, the backup generators, and the other one is for the crosswalk safety project. So this particular one, the $12,000 one, I'll bring to you on July 13th and give you a little overview of the items or the invoices that have been paid on those projects that were under that $10,000 mark and let you know what those are, and then be asking for you to consider a payment of that $12,000 invoice so that we can get payment to them. It's a little unfortunate that we have to wait till July 13th, but I'll notify the vendor and let them know that that's our policy and that they'll have to wait until then for payment. Wanted to give you a heads up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other staff reports? Okay. Board? Trustee Gator,
Several things, so if somebody else wants to go first.
go ahead.
So I want to go over a couple of things. The first thing, I know we got some additional information. Our work session, we went over elections, and then I had asked the question if we were limited from being able to do an in-person polling place election. We found out after the fact that just based on the elections happening this year, we actually do have the opportunity to do a polling place election this year, which is separate from what we were told in the work session. So I think that we need to actually sit down and have a discussion on what we want to do, because the work session we kind of came away with, we're kind of stuck with doing either a mailing or this, but I think we need to actually have a work session or a board meeting where we work through that and actually figure out what we want to do for an election and start planning for that. Because I want to make sure that we're giving our staff, if we do decide to do either a polling place or our own mail-in election, we need to give our staff plenty of time to prepare for that. So I just ask if we can maybe get that on a work session, if we as a board need to discuss that in a work session, or if we just need to put that on an agenda and vote on it, because I believe we have to vote on what type of election we want to hold. So.
Okay. Can we get that on by work session?
You bet.
As a request to follow up with that, I'm interested in what additional expense the town would incur for for pursuing that. So if we were to do mail-in and in-person, how much more it would cost the town. So I just want to make sure that we have those figures available too. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I think that would be a perfect thing is yes, have all the options. I understand we don't really know the coordinated numbers because that's the county and we won't know that for sure, but at least we can kind of get those would be good. The second thing, and this was a question I want to ask to the board. I know the governor just recently passed some new legislation regarding passing gun laws down to municipalities and giving them freedom in that. I'd like to ask if we can have our attorneys look into that to see if we need to do anything. My personal preference would be we give our citizens the maximum freedom that we possibly can. If that just means we leave it alone and go with the state, then we don't need to do anything. But I'd like to have our attorneys just check to see if we need to take any action as a board with that new law that's passed. But I don't want to give direction to the town attorneys without the rest of the board being okay with that.
Can I make a recommendation that maybe instead of that one specific item, we just have a brief legislative update on any House bills that could potentially affect local government?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Thank you very much. Great idea, Trustee McDonald. The final item that I wanted to bring up to the board, I've been observing just how some of our other municipalities around us, so Loveland, Fort Collins, and I've noticed this comment was raised by a citizen here in public comment about having to provide their physical address and just a concern for safety. And I've noticed with like Fort Collins and with Loveland, now obviously they have wards there, so they'll just say their ward or their neighborhood or their zip code. And so I'd like to ask if we as a board, I know we ask people to provide their full address. In thinking about that, there are some areas where that could potentially cause concerns because these are now going on YouTube. This is public access that anybody in the whole world can have access to. Maybe change that to ask people to either give their neighborhood or what area of Wellington they're from versus their physical address. And I don't know if there's any specific code that requires us to have address, but I've noticed that our surrounding municipalities don't require citizens to give their physical address. They just have them give an area of town they're from.
Is that a code requirement for the name and address, or do we know?
I don't believe it
I
is.
don't think so.
I don't believe that is a code requirement. I think it's just been general practice of the board, but we'll
Okay.
look into that.
Yep. So do we need to wait for the attorney to get back to us and then we as a board make a decision, or can we say that we want to adjust that, or what are the board's thoughts on that?
I can send an update on that, an email to the board with information on that, and we can you can make a decision at the next
Okay.
meeting.
Is the board comfortable with that being put on an agenda for us once we get information from staff to one way or the other? If we choose to stay with it as it is, so be it. But
We'll see what the information is and then we can make a call on that.
Yeah, we might want to consult with the mayor because he kind of oversees how the agenda and the decorum of how the board operates.
all right, that's all I got. Thank you.
Trustee Whitehouse?
Hey, looks like we've got more crosswalk signals on Fifth Street in Cleveland. Thank you.
Trustee Kenny?
I was going to do the same thank you because like other projects that are ongoing, this has been a significant one that has spanned a long time. So I appreciate the persistence and the priority that's been placed on this to make sure we're keeping people safe. With that said, flashing crosswalks don't make cars stop. So folks who are driving on Cleveland, this is for everybody who might be watching online as well, they're only effective if you do stop. So we're putting in measures, and it's been a priority, of course, of the town to make sure that you're aware of pedestrians being available. So please stop when that happens. Thank you.
Trustee McDonald?
Nothing.
Okay. See no further action. Seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Gator,
Yes.
Trustee Kenny,
Yes.
Trustee McDonald,
Yes.
Trustee Whitehouse,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Knutson.
Yes. Meeting adjourned.